Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Happy Hour on One Soccer. Andi Petrillo, Carmelina Moscato, Laura Armstrong. Pleased to be joined for this week's edition by Jordyn Huitema, who has quickly become a household name in Canada, also in France. We'll get to that in just a minute. 2018, Canada Soccer introduced a new award. It was the Canadian Youth International Player Award. Jordyn Huitema, winner of that on the women's side, that inaugural award, and of course the winner of the Golden Boot at the CONCACAF Olympic Qualifier, which we just broadcast a few months ago. Jordyn, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
We're fantastic. Now, you've got some beautiful background, though, going. I mean, where are you? I saw some beautiful trees. I saw a pool. I'm a little jealous.
Should I give a quick little pano or?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm at home in Chilliwack currently.
Oh, come on.
Can we come isolate at your house?
Come on over. We have room for. So yeah, I just actually got back probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. Been spending the time with my family in isolation. All my brothers are here. Mom and dad are here as well. So it's been really nice.
I do have to ask, so you come from a very sporty family. I mean, both your parents were very athletic, your brothers as well. Is there any kind of competition going on? Is there competition at the dinner table? Who makes their bed the quickest? I mean, I don't know. What is your family like when you're all together?
No, honestly, when we're together, I think we all take the time to just disconnect from that kind of stuff. Obviously on the field and in training, we're different kind of people, but when we get home, we're just kind of supporting and just being kind of chill and just having fun with each other. Nothing's too competitive until I think we have a basketball hoop down there, and I think that's the most competitive we get is with those games. But no, I think everyone's just kind of relaxed and laid back when we're with our family.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well then you're better than me because I would race anyone to see who could get through the doorway first. It's pretty much how I do things. Are you keeping in? Let's talk about the Canadian women's national team first. Are you keeping in touch with anybody? I know they've been having some Zumba workouts, I think, or I was talking to Christine about that. I'm just wondering if you guys are just kind of staying in touch and helping each other, keep the morale up.
Yeah, it's actually been amazing. We have 3 to 4 workouts a week as a team. So there are a variety of different workouts from strength to fitness. So it's been amazing just the support from that end. And obviously being able to see everyone's face again is really, really nice. We also have different culture connects every once in a while. So it's just a catch up with the whole team. How you doing? That's more rare, but it's just a great way for everyone to connect again, see how everyone's doing, see where everyone's at, making sure everyone's healthy and happy and staying stable in these kind of conditions that are kind of making everyone a little flustered.
That's important.
Yeah, that's fair. How do you manage? Are you training with PSG too? Are you balancing 2 kinds of training sessions? Or are you just doing national team stuff?
No, I'm just kind of focusing more on national team right now. I'll do most of the workouts with the national team, and then in between that, I'll do some runs with my mom or go to the soccer field. And I actually have a coach from Chilliwack FC who was my old general manager, the guy who kind of set me up and grew me up in Chilliwack FC when I was young, and he's actually brought me out to the field a few times, and we've been training, so it's been really, really nice to get a few touches on the ball and kind of keeping social distance at the same time.
Mm-hmm. What has your reaction been as around the world? I mean, obviously sports has been greatly affected by the pandemic, but if we just talk strictly about the world of soccer, and already some leagues, right, have just outright canceled. Others are still, trying to come back. Just kind of what was your reaction when it just one domino after another, kind of seeing things get postponed and then outright canceled?
Yeah, at first it kind of was a little bit lighthearted in PSG. We kind of were like, okay, well, let's see where this takes us. We'll kind of go week by week, day by day, and we'll give you guys updates as it progresses. Until it just hit a wall where it was just shut down, which was kind of upsetting in a way. We all had our hopes up that the season was going to continue after maybe a month, but obviously that didn't happen. So to go into my first professional season and to get it canceled was a little bit hard. Obviously, we're hoping for a different outcome next season, but I think it was also we were just so close to first, and we were right there with Lyon, and it was just neck and neck all season, and we were just ready to go head to head with them till the end, and just not getting that opportunity was hard. Yeah, I feel like we felt like we deserved more than what we got, and we were ready to push for that first place. And coming away from that season in like, you had to get second in a way because it was over and we couldn't do any more. So it was like,
Yeah.
you got second in the season when it was only halfway done. We were kind of like, like we were so close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that part was a little bit hard for our team to take in at first, but obviously looking forward to next season and seeing where we can take that team.
Yeah, no, and you know what? Obviously, congratulations. I don't know if I've ever had the chance to actually say it to you. It's been a while, but congrats on making the move, you know, straight from high school, going straight to PSG. I know that's garnered a lot of attention, but, you know, how has that transition been for you? How have you enjoyed a huge leap and something that we're all proud of? How has it been going for you?
It's been incredible, honestly. Just getting engulfed in the new French culture has been a big change in general, but I have huge support systems there. Obviously with Ashley Lawrence, a Canadian teammate of mine, she's been a real help there. When it even just comes to setting up my cell phone, to finding training, I mean, she's been there since day one. So that's been really, really nice knowing that I had that type of support and I'm not going in blind really. It was also really nice just to be able to ask her different things to help me get warmed up to the team or to the environment or even just the city. So it's been really, really nice. Obviously, my time was cut short and I wish I could have gotten a little bit more time there. At the start of last year, I was actually there training with the team before I
remember that. Yeah.
Before I had a contract. I was just training pre-World Cup, just trying to prep myself better. So I didn't have a car, I didn't have anything. So I was kind of stuck in a hotel room. I wasn't able to live on my own because I wasn't 18. So I was actually in a hotel room with my food in the little mini fridge, and I would make my dinners out of like little like things I took from the restaurant downstairs, so like little cutlery and like napkins as my plates, and I'd make like sandwiches for dinner. So that was a hard few months, but obviously now that I have an apartment and a car and I'm getting more set up and grounded there, it's been really, really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense, Jordy. It's been interesting to see that, you know, we talk about the standards of women's soccer and, you know, even all over the world, we want to do the best by women's players. And, you know, it's not easy, especially when you're not 18. I didn't even realize that.
Baby. Oh my God. Like I'd be freaking out if I was
wow.
now, if I travel the world without my mom, I can have a panic attack. Girl, I'm 40. Like I need my mom on speed dial.
Absolutely.
I mean, I went to university at 17, but all anybody expected me to do was like just party and not fail. Like it wasn't like I was expected to go be on the field. Jordyn, you mentioned when there's so much hype and there's so many questions about where you were going to go and what you were going to do. And you mentioned at the time when you made that decision that you wanted to sort of offer this pathway for other young girls coming out of high school, maybe not wanting to go to university, maybe wanting to try out the pro environment. What have you learned in the last, I know it's been a short time, but what have you learned in that time that might be able to sort of help other girls, help encourage people like to actually take this path now that you've gone down it a little bit?
I think it's just to echo that it's possible. And I think if we want to develop as a Canadian national team, if we want to keep pushing and keep striving for higher rankings, getting more girls funneling into a system where maybe university isn't the path that they want to choose. I mean, there's so many different paths, and some girls are really keen on going to university and 100% support that as well. I'm not saying that that's a bad option. I'm just saying that with pro environments, you're able to push yourself beyond your comfort zone every single day. I wouldn't even say that I'm in my comfort zone still, and I've been there for a year. Every day I'm needing to perform. I need to wake up and I need to be ready to perform. There's no off days. There's no days where you're a little tired because you went to bed at 3. There's not those days in those kind of environments. So it kind of teaches you a discipline from a really young age that helps you push and progress and makes the jump from going from club environment to the national team camps not as difficult as it used to be. And for me, when I used to go from Rex environments to national teams, although Rex was an amazing environment for me, Canada soccer is just so incredible that that jump was so difficult. And it took me a few days in camp to actually adjust, which is not amazing. So going from an environment like PSG, which is so amazing, into Canada national team, which is equally as amazing, it just makes it such a smoother transition in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you made history, obviously, and now a lot of young girls look up to you because you're the first Canadian to go from high school straight into pro. And I remember asking you about that in the final warm-up before heading out to the World Cup, and you were pretty adamant in saying, I want to prove that there's also different paths. Obviously, this was a good choice for you to make, but also for other young women to know that there should be different avenues, and you should choose the best one that's, you know, for you. And that's what you want to see is choice. You want to see the women's game grow in that. And part of that growth is choice, right? Where you can go and play and how you can progress your skills. We'll get more into that, but we like to always kind of mix in a little bit of fun. So we're going to do some rapid fire questions here. I go first, Laura, followed by Carm, and then I'll go again. Given that you are in France, this is fun. So we got some pretty, I don't know if you had a chance to watch last week. Don't worry if you didn't, but we had Khadija and it was just pretty interesting trying to get her to, you know, what's your favorite French food? She's like, but I'll ask you, what's your favorite French food, like French cuisine, now that you're living in France? What have you, maybe it surprised you, or maybe you're like, this is so good.
Can I say croissants? Is that?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a cop-out, but because we love, all of us love croissants.
We love them, so we're fine with it. Yeah.
Plain or chocolate?
Plain.
Okay.
The chocolate's just too much.
Yeah.
You eat it like just straight as a croissant? Do you ever like cut it open and put like cheese on it or something?
Anything?
Just like plain.
Yeah.
Right. All the croissant.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so that's good. All right, so yeah, and no chocolate, because who needs those extra 2 calories? We're gonna go all butter with the regular croissant. All right, Laura, what do you got?
Diet.
Since you've been in France, any habits that you've picked up that are like truly Parisian? Like what's the most Parisian part of you?
Well, I feel like when I'm there, it doesn't feel very Parisian or very French, but I notice it when I go with Canada. I'll like speak French and I'll like call for the ball in French, or like I'll put people on in French, and I'm like, they don't understand that. That's the wrong language. Change it up. But it's only the first few days, like when I'm in PSG environment all the time, and it's just coming natural now. When I get into Canada, definitely the first few days I'm spitting some French words.
How would you call for the ball in French? I'm curious. Like, what is
like yes, like
oui.
Oui. He would be like, excuse me, are you whistling at me? All right, Carm.
All right. So what is I've been this summer, we were in France, past summer here, obviously this summer, no, but last summer in France, really enjoyed it. What's your favorite thing to do in Paris right now, in your surroundings? What do you find enjoyment in?
Might be a cop-out, but I might I might give you some information you didn't know. So I love going to the Eiffel Tower. Just like all around the Eiffel Tower just has amazing, just people like dancing or little card games that you get to watch. It's just incredible. But then if you get to go later at night, so every whole hour after dark, so usually around 9, 10, 11, the Eiffel Tower will actually sparkle, which is beautiful. And it's so amazing. And I know so many people that have gone and they didn't even know that. But it's absolutely incredible. So if you get the chance to go, you can go on a late night whole hour. Beautiful.
Bring a bottle of wine, a croissant. It's like the best thing you can do, right?
Well, now, happy belated, because now you're 19.
Yes, happy belated.
This is completely off topic and definitely not important to you whatsoever, but what is the drinking age in France? 18. She was fine.
Oh, you're a veteran already. Geez, here I am all excited that you turned 19.
I don't drink. I'm a good girl.
Okay.
There you go.
Exactly. That's all I want to know.
Don't listen to a word we say. We are a horrible influence to you. Okay, so what would you say, so everything obviously in the French league, you travel to different places in France. What's your favorite other place in France that you like to go to when you're going on a road trip? Maybe it's even, I don't know if it's, Lyon because you get to see Khadija or something, right? Like what would make another road place in France special to you?
Honestly, out of all the places we went, they were all very beautiful in their own way. It was actually incredible, even just going to a small town. They had such beautiful landmarks that I didn't even really know were going to be there. So that was really interesting. But I'd say just from a soccer experience, the Lyon game in Lyon was incredible. And obviously before the break, we were going to have Lyon and PSG, which would have been amazing. But obviously we only played them one time that season. And I think we got around like 55,000 fans that game. And just the atmosphere was just buzzing. So I'd say definitely that, based off of just the whole soccer experience from it.
I love it. Yeah. Sorry,
Like,
Laura. Go ahead.
crowd you've ever played in front of? Is that like the biggest that you've ever played in front of?
I think maybe around that.
Probably, yeah, around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were also in the men's Lyon stadium.
Right.
So it was massive, and just everyone just felt like they were on top of you. It was amazing.
So
All right. So before we get into some national team stuff, let's actually just talk a little bit more about PSG, because when we had Beckie on a couple weeks ago, being with Manchester City, I mean, she had some really great things to say about sharing the facilities with the men and just how much that also helps, and having certain resources available to you. I mean, how has that been over at PSG? Like, are there shared facilities, physio? She was talking about some cryo chamber. Like, it's just some pretty cool things that you have access to that you probably otherwise wouldn't have here.
So actually the women and men are completely separate. Have their own facility. It's about 15 minutes away from ours. But no, we have everything you would need all on hand right in that close environment, which is amazing. Just even being able to talk to other teams in the French league, discussing what they have in their environments and what they have at their facilities. Like, some teams have to travel to do strength, and they don't actually have a gym on facility. So they'll drive 20 minutes after training to go to a strength or a gym together. So even just so fortunate to have things like that on hand in the environment. It's amazing. We have, I mean, you have everything you need, really. We have a whole dining hall for the team. We have breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner together there.
Wow.
Obviously, we have just one specific field usually for our team. There's a few more on the facility, but those are more for if we're running fitness. So if we ever get on those fields, we're like, what happened?
You know what that means.
Yeah. So there's that, and the field is absolutely beautiful. There's a amazing maintenance staff that take care of it daily, and they just keep it so superb. It's amazing. Not even a leaf on it. Like, it's beautiful grass. And then obviously we have a whole gym set up there. After training, if we just want to walk 2 steps, it's right there. Same with kine and physio. It's all right there, right on hand. And obviously inside we have our change room, our locker room, ice baths. We have saunas. If you're wanting to like really relax. I went through sauning every day, which I heard was very good for you, but I was excited. I was really excited. And I kind of was the one on the team who set it up and kind of got everyone into the sauna. It's a beautiful environment, a beautiful training ground. So couldn't ask for too much more, honestly.
And you described sort of, what a high performer would dream of, what we all sort of need, right, to keep going, all top players. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's almost like that should be the standard, and we hope to get there one day, that most women's players get to have that. But do you guys interact with the men's team? Not that it really matters, but it's interesting. Do you have any occasions where you do?
Sadly, not too many.
Not too many. Okay.
But sometimes we'll do like a media day.
Sure.
And we'll all go to Parc de France, and then we'll kind of cross paths with each other. Sometimes, like, you'll see one male player, and that's about it. Like, you won't see too many. So if you cross paths, it's just kind of lucky. But no, definitely don't see them too much, especially with our facilities completely separate.
Yeah. Okay. Just a curiosity.
It's pretty. Yeah, listen, it's pretty fascinating, and you're right, Carm. We want to get to the point now where this should be the norm, and it should be expected. And we shouldn't be going, "Ooh, you have that, right?" Like, you just kind of want it to be. If you're a professional league, that kind of should be the standard. Let's talk about your national career here, and maybe take me through just what the last few years were like, because so you come out of the gate, and even from, U17, U20, I mean, you are already showing that you're a prolific goal scorer, and you became the first Canadian to score goals at those levels, under 17, under 20, and at the senior team in the same calendar year. But when you look at, so 2017, 2018, you have 15 appearances for the national team, you score 6 goals. 2019, 10 appearances, no goals. 2020, major bounce back already with 7 goals in 8 games. And by the way, those are 7 goals that actually came in a span of 3 games. How would you just kind of talk about the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, especially between 2019 and 2020 for you?
So kind of starting way back to not really the beginning, but kind of where I started getting my foothold in the team, where the goals started coming. Obviously, I was working with one of the best forwards in the world, if not the best, with Sink. So just learning from her every day was incredible. Day in and day out, just being able to play and perform with her in training and in games was incredible. But obviously, I was still very young. Just kind of trying to get my foothold, get my grounding, still developing so much at such a high pace. And then, yeah, that 2019 year was a little bit difficult, especially more so the end of 2018. I kind of found myself a little bit in a rut, not being able to really score or get through that, which I'm sure every professional soccer player has been through.
Absolutely.
So mentally, just being able to get through that was a little bit hard at that time. It was one of my first that was noticeable. Mm-hmm. So for me, even just to be able to see that was hard on either my self-esteem, my confidence, just being able to go out and perform. It was really difficult. So that was the exact point that I decided to leave to go to Paris. So the end of 2018, I was like still playing with Rex and performing there, but I just didn't feel like I was pushing myself anymore. Well, I was, but like it just didn't feel right. Something was off. Something needed to change, and I think that's where that rut kind of happened. So I made the decision on my own, as well as my family member and my agent, to be able to make that move to Paris, and it's the best decision I think I ever made. Just being able to get into a new environment was just incredible. Mm-hmm. I found my stride again. I was able to train every day with some of the best players in the world, which is something many people can't say. Mm-hmm. I wasn't able to play games, which was the hard part. So I didn't really know how to compare myself if I was improving as far as like a game standard. But I knew in my training that I was performing and getting better every day. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of when I was like, I made the right decision. I'm coming out of this rut right now. I feel good. And then that's when we hit the World Cup. And I think our team had about a month and a half pre-camp, and I felt incredible. Like I was balling out, like scoring goals every session, like feeling great. Obviously felt great throughout the whole World Cup. Got to show that against the Netherlands, which was an incredible experience. And then moving on from there, getting more and more time with PSG and just kind of finding my grounding, especially after that World Cup, and moving more into pushing that starting position, moving into that China tournament or that China game. Obviously it wasn't the result we wanted, but pushing into that game, and then the China series with New Zealand and Brazil, getting into that a little bit more. So that felt really good. And then that kind of just rolled into Olympic qualifiers, where I think I really started to show how much I've progressed over the last year or so. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I was super, super pumped after that to go into PSG, make that roll into the Olympics, but sadly that was cut a little short. But definitely excited for it to be happening next year. Fingers crossed if everything happens smoothly and to plan. So just kind of excited to get prepped and ready for that again.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing that we have sort of discussed on the show before about the Olympics in particular. We've had, conversations about how maybe some players would retire and it's not great for them to sort of have that pushback an extra year. But for you as a younger player who's sort of developing and getting your footing, does that give you an extra year to sort of improve so that you can sort of hit your stride in 2021? Are there areas that you still want to grow before then?
Yeah, 100%. I think even just as a young player developing, in the span of a year, it's incredible how much you can develop if you really set your mind to it and your efforts to it. It's substantial just how much you can develop in that time. So yeah, definitely looking towards that. And there's so many growth areas that I'm still looking to hit, even if it's just the little 1% on certain things. I mean, you can never really stop growing. I wouldn't say that a certain player is perfect. I don't think you can get there. If you're hitting every touch perfect and every shot you're scoring, okay, then you can say you're perfect, but no player can do that. So I think at any point in your game, no matter the age, no matter what point you are in your career, there's always different areas that you need to keep developing and look to push.
Yeah. And on that, you're already, I'm a coach, right? You know that we've coached you. We've had some good times. And just looking at your statistics, not to get too nerdy on people, but you're scoring most of your goals in the 6-yard box. 41% of your goals are, right exactly where the top goal scorers in the world. So you're not only putting them away, you're arriving in great spots, which is half of the battle. And like you said, it's 1%. And maybe that shifts now, and that's a higher percentage because that's what you're striving for. But it's been impressive to see your goal scoring, especially in that qualification tournament. It was exciting to see in a variety of different goals too. It was awesome.
One of the things that Carm let slip in our pre-show meeting is that you're really fast, which we don't necessarily associate with a player in general that is as tall as you, right? Like the height and speed aren't necessarily always associated. So, I mean, how do you use your speed to your advantage? And in terms of your height, like how do you sort of make that work for you on the field as well?
I definitely look to use my speed to get in behind back lines, of course. So I like racing. Like I've always grown up loving racing people. So I think I bring that into soccer a little bit, where I'm just saying, hit me in behind. And then mentally, I like forget about the soccer ball for a second because I'll track it. I'll know where it's going to end up before it's even there. And then I'll just be with this person. I'm be like, I'm racing you to the ball and I'm going to win. And that's kind of mentally how I think about it. And then when I get there, obviously, that's when the magic starts happening on the ball. Yeah, I love racing, and I get super competitive in those little moments with players because I don't like losing even just the small battles. So that's always a fun part for me. And as far as my height, I think that's part of the 1-2% that I'm looking to develop even more is like my heading skills, even just like learning how to use my body to get in between players. That's been something since I've gone with PSG has grown so much. Just being able to shield and hold up and be that target number 9 for the team. That's developed so much, but obviously with my height, just looking to use that more in the air, winning aerial balls, winning headers, things like that.
I think the bird is trying to steal your spotlight. You got some bird in the background chirping away. Do you see it?
I do see it. It's
What
a robin. It's a robin.
All right. Loving the birds, but it's like, literally, it's like you're in the wilderness doing this interview and accompanied by the birds in the background. Just again on your physical attributes, we cover a lot of sports, and it doesn't matter what sport it is, be it soccer, be it hockey, even basketball players. A lot of time when they grow into their body, sometimes it just takes a little longer. Was there any kind of adjustment in being the tall girl? Did you have to grow into the legs? Did you have to grow into any of that? And then also being with PSG, you never really know sometimes how much further your physical strength can go until you're tested. And has that also shown you as well, playing with PSG, how much stronger you can be?
Yeah, so hitting on the first question, I grew up like Bambi. I think a lot of my family members agree. Coming from a very tall family, I think we all kind of had to grow into our bodies. I was definitely very clumsy, couldn't really keep the ball too well at my feet, kind of just got caught up in the ball a lot. I think I sprouted like 6 inches when I hit 12. Like I didn't grow, and I hit 12, and I just sprouted. I just hit a growth spurt. I think I got Osgood-Slaughters or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I had that. Yeah.
Yeah, I never did. I'm like 5'4", so I have no clue what you're talking about.
And I'd get that treated for a few years for sure. Still to this day, it's difficult for me to run on like basketball courts. They'll flare up, which is weird. It's just that specific thing. I don't know why. So that was definitely challenging growing up, having to adapt. I mean, there was a few, like, this is a funny story. There was a fitness test with Canada Soccer, and we usually run them in the gym in Fortius. But obviously, like I just said, my Osgoods usually flare up on gym floors. So I'm doing all the testing. It's feeling good. It's just sprinting, jumping, and then at the end, there's a 30-15, which is a fitness test. So I start doing it, and I'm like, my knees are killing me. So I like tell the physios, and I feel like partially they thought I was making it up, but I finished probably a few levels of the test, and I said, I can't do it on this floor. Like, can I please run it outside on the turf? So they let me, and it's such a hot day in Vancouver. It was probably like 28 or 29 on this turf. It's just absolutely bubbling. So Alex actually ran. Here's our mental trainer. He actually ran it with me because I was alone outside and it was so hot. So he said he was going to support me with that. So we make it to like level like 16. And for everyone who's ran that test, they know that that's getting to the point where you're getting a little fatigued. You're starting to get breathe a little heavy. So we hit that point, and then we're running, and it shuts off, and we don't hear it anymore. And we're like, "What happened?" So says he's our strength guy. He said, "Oh, it's too hot. The iPad turned off." And I'm like, "I just ran to level 16," and he's like, "Okay, well, guys, go run upstairs, grab a Gatorade, grab a water, come down. I'll cool it off. We'll do it again." I was like, "Okay, do I get to start at level 16 or like 15? Because you start at level 8 and it goes up by 0.5. So it's 30 seconds of running. So it's a little bit difficult." He's like, "No, you're starting from the beginning." So I said, "Okay." So on that same day, I ran the test 3 times and ended up finishing with a pretty good score, something I was proud with, but felt like I could do more, but I ran it 3 times. So got a little off track there.
Yeah, all those stories though. Yeah.
Good story. And for somebody who has run it, I cannot fathom it. I probably, not sure how that would have gone over in my end. But good job, Jordie, for finishing that. So with regards to, obviously fitness, all the components, you put it all together. What kind of striker would you describe yourself as? Like, what's your profile? Who are you, idolizing in the female game and in the men's game? Like, what's your superpower? Who do you want to be? Jordie. You are Jordie. What is your aspirational sort of target idol that you look up to?
I really love the playing style of Robert Lewandowski, just like such a target player, but also so dynamic, just in the way where he has such dribbling skills, but also he's so clinical in front of goal. So he kind of just morphs into the player he needs to be at the moment. And that's kind of what I want to be, just an all-rounded kind of athlete. I don't want to be the forward who can only score when they're put in that position, but then when it's in their own end, don't even try to pass type thing. I just kind of want to be a well-rounded goal scorer, target player, dynamic, even getting assists sometimes, that's nice as well. So yeah, definitely looking up to him for sure. He's an incredible player that, I definitely want to kind of mirror my.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, obviously you grew up playing sports, not just soccer, and kind of going on what you just said, there was also a point in your life where you had to make a decision, I believe, between soccer and hockey. What would you also say about being a well-rounded athlete, being able to try and be involved in different sports? We always understand at some point you have to branch off and focus a little bit more on one particular sport, but would that be your message to young players right now? Because it's still a hot button topic, right? Should kids, like at such a young age, be so specialized in one specific sport, or should they just play everything and work on as many skills as you can before you have to walk down one path?
Honestly, it's a difficult question. I think that's a lot of personal preference and just knowing your kid a little bit. Personally for me, I think if I were to be specialized in a sport from a young age, I think I would have burnt out and just lost the passion for it. Growing up, I was a kid who loved everything. And if you would have said, no, you can only play one sport, I think I would have gotten a little bit upset and just wanted to go the other way against that. And I think it's just knowing your children. I think obviously social media is such a big platform these days. And I know kids who are like 6, 7, 8 who are committing their life to soccer already, and they're doing amazing. Obviously, I don't know what their future holds or where that's going to bring them or things
Mhm.
like that. But I think it just honestly depends on the kid. I loved growing up with different sports. I feel like it's an amazing way just to branch out and develop different parts of your kind of athleticism. I don't think like a well-rounded athlete is able, like, soccer does certain things for you 100%, but then hockey and swimming, which is what I grew up doing, it gives you different things and different focuses which you're able to kind of, yeah, it's just a great balance. I think for me,
Mhm.
if and when I have children, I definitely look to put them into multiple sports that they enjoy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Let's take a look at two tournaments in particular, and then I want you to compare how you felt after each of them. So it would be World Cup that just happened in the summer of 2019, and then 2020 Olympic Qualifiers, 7 goals, where you were awarded the Golden Boot as well for the most goals scored in that tournament. How would you take a look at those, two tournaments, world stage tournaments, one for World Cup and one qualifying for the Olympics for you personally?
Um, well, it's hard to say just because as far as World Cup, I played a 90 and that was about it. So I got a full game, which was incredible. Wouldn't take it back for a second of anything else. But it's hard to compare a tournament to one game.
Mhm.
Just like the overall experiences of both were so different.
Mhm.
Just the off the field of the World Cup was incredible, being able to connect with the team. The trainings were incredible, super high intensity. But at the end of the day, it's a World Cup, which is something that's super hard to beat. I'd say on the field experiences were way better with qualifiers. Being able to be that dangerous and clinical player in front of net was amazing. Being able to kind of show everyone what I've been working on and being able to present that in a way where people can see it. I'd say that was a tournament that I really, really enjoyed. And obviously the cherry on top with the golden boot was pretty nice too.
Mhm.
Maybe in terms of like going into those two tournaments, going into the World Cup, did you expect to have sort of a limited role? And then by the time you had CONCACAF and the qualifiers, you mentioned earlier sort of pushing for a starting role. Did you go into that thinking I've improved to this point where I can maybe be top 11, I should definitely be top 14, I should be getting into these games at the very least?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the mentality that every player on the team has. If you're on the bench, you want to be on the field, and that's how it's always going to be. Even if you're the alternate, you want to be saying, I deserve that starting spot. I'm pushing for that point. So, of course, that's where I was at. I think if you ever say you're content with sitting on the bench, stop playing soccer.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be okay with. I mean, our environment with our team is incredible. But you have that little bit in the back of your head where you're like, I'm pushing for this spot right here. And if you don't have that drive, you should get it because like that's how you're going to continue to improve. So obviously during the World Cup, I was super supportive of everything that was going on. But yeah, I did have that little bit where I was like, I want to get in, I want to get in, I want to start, I want to do these things. But at the end of the day, it's not my decision. So I think it's just how much can you show every day, day in and day out in training that you deserve to be there. And I think it's less about words and like saying things, or it's just more about action and showing why you deserve to be there. And a lot of people can say, well, oh, you're young, you're inexperienced, you're this, But I think as long as you're performing and showing it day in and day out that you deserve to be in that spot, then you can't really say, you don't need to back yourself up because you're already doing that on the field. So yes, of course, I was pushing for a starting spot in that tournament. Felt that I could get in a little bit more.
Yeah. And hunger and controlling the controllables. You totally nailed that for sure. And it is a tough role, but you said about the team culture is really strong. So it's easy to be supportive and competitive at the same time. But, when you look at, we have covered the whole qualification tournament, this exact panel here, and we had a lot of discussions around, your partnerships on the pitch. With Sinclair, you've already mentioned how much you learn from her on a daily basis. Who are some of your stronger partnerships that are emerging on the pitch? Who are you really clicking with not off the pitch, genuinely on the pitch, who's getting the best out of you?
I feel like even though Ashley and I are so like, usually she'll play fullback, but when she plays midfielder, obviously we're more connected on the field. But even as a fullback, I feel like we just have this raw emotion towards each other, just like, you did this wrong, do this better, do this because this. Like, we'll just give it straight up. You won't beat around the bush. It's just like, this needs to improve. This is why. Here's what you need to do. That's what it is. So I love that kind of connection that we have with each other, just being able to say those certain things to each other. That's how I roll as a soccer player. Give it to me straight, but give it to me with facts. Otherwise, I'll fight it. If there's no facts, I'll be like, why then? You know, I'll be that person that searches for more. Other than that, I'd say Janine and I are becoming a really good dynamic duo up there, learning to connect with her a lot more. I think she can assisted 4 of my goals in that tournament, actually, something around there. So that's become, amazing, as well as the connection with Sink and I. We've been pushing towards a 2 up front a little bit more, which is nice to kind of explore in. Obviously, Sink and I are I wouldn't say 2 completely different players, but we definitely have our strengths that vary amongst each other. So working off that with each other is kind of nice because we bring different things to the table. So that's been a cool connection to kind of look into a little more.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice to see the variations because then it also just gives Kenneth Heiner-Muller a different look on attacks as well. And you're a huge part of that and developing those types of relationships and seeing it work, obviously even happening organically, I think is something very special for the national team. And speaking of those qualifiers in that game against Jamaica, the 5 goals that you got in the one game, just becoming the second Canadian to do that. Silvana Bertini, she did that in the 90s. She did it twice in the 90s. But I mean, you just slowly but surely, there's all these little, check marks in these boxes in history that you're kind of making for yourself. I mean, when you kept scoring, I mean, I don't know. At what point did you just pinch yourself? I mean, how do you react when you're like, oh, hat trick, yay, oh, 4, oh, wait, 5?
That tournament was so strange. Obviously, I wanted to start off on a good note, kind of get the numbers rising a little bit, and I scored 1, which was great. But there was other players in the tournament who were already at 4, and I was like, maybe next time I'll get it because I'm already 4 behind. We're going into a difficult part of. Maybe next time. And then we went into the Jamaica game and got that first goal. Even just from the whistle, I felt very good. Even in warm-up, I was feeling good on the ball. And then, 1, and then 2, and then 3. And I was like, holy, I don't know where it's coming from. And then there was actually the funniest goal is, I think it was the 5th goal. And it came from Deanne, and she was coming down the right side or the left side. And she had a half open shot where she could have taken it. And we joked about this after the game because we actually looked up at each other right as this play was happening. And she looked at me and she smiled and I laughed because I knew I was already on 4. But I was sitting right in front of the net, just wide open, no players around me. And she's like, oh, I could shoot this, but Jordan's wide open. So we did make eye contact and actually giggled with each other on the field before she passed it. And then I scored. And we were joking about it after the game too, that she's like, I should have taken that shot. You're already at 4. I needed it. And I was like, yeah, we were just joking about it.
Well, speaking of goals, and then I think there's a question that came through on the YouTube channel there, Laura, from something about a celebration.
Yeah, someone named Janine Beckie has called in and asked if you could recreate your celebration.
What is this?
Our celebration? Oh, it's a whole thing.
Oh, we're doing it.
I don't know where it started. It kind of happened after the Jamaica game. It was the 3rd goal of the Jamaica game. And she kind of ran up to me like this, and she did this. And it's kind of we pump our arms at each other, and then she jumps on top of me. And it kind of just happened naturally in the Jamaica game, and I guess it stuck. I started calling it our celebration, so.
So it's just one of these and then a jump.
Yeah, it's just you're.
Okay.
And then she jumps on me, and that's it.
Okay. I mean, if she's assisting all of those goals, then you kind of have to have a celebration, right?
Yeah. And you have to let her jump on you. All right, let's have a little bit more fun with some rapid fire questions here. Me, Laura, Carm, that'll be the order. So we just established that you played a variety of sports, obviously soccer being the main one for you. However, did you have a favorite athlete? Doesn't necessarily have to be a soccer player, but did you have a favorite athlete when you were younger growing up? I don't know. Did you have some Air Jordans? Did you was Gretzky in the, was there a poster of him hanging around? Like who'd you have?
So I love Sidney Crosby. I thought he was very good looking and a great hockey player. And he scored the game-winning goal in the Olympics to win the gold. And I was just like, he's your husband right there, you know? So I definitely say him, as well as Serena Williams. Just like,
Oh,
yeah, what an incredible athlete, a mother, driving sport for women, incredible. That kind of developed when I actually started like seeing more logically as a human and not. So, yeah, that developed a little later, but definitely her as well.
Yeah, I always loved. See, I love Venus in the beginning because to me, I loved when she had the beads in her hair too, and the way she would fly on the court, and she was so incredible. Yeah, Sydney, I'll pass that message along. 2010. That's what did it. All right, Laura, you're next.
I mean, maybe it's these people. Maybe it's someone different. Doesn't have to be an athlete, but autograph you'd be too nervous to ask for.
It's actually already happened.
Oh, tell us everything.
So I was at the Bayern game, and I was up in the lounge with all the players and the family members. So I was just chilling up there after the game, and all the players start flooding in, obviously, to their family and friends and whatever. So Robert and Coutinho walk in, and I was just like, whoa. And then Alfonso, obviously, was the link between it all. He kind of said, do you want a picture with them? And I was like, no. No. And this actually happened like 6 months ago. No, I can't. I turned all red. I just got so embarrassed. I just couldn't do it. And then he stood up. He's like, I'm doing it. So he went up and went to Coutinho and was like, hey, like, Jordyn wants a picture with you. And as he stood up and turned around and started walking, I stood up and ran out of the room and ran to the bathroom. And so then Alfonso was like, Coutinho, can you take a picture with Jordyn? He's like, yeah, sure. Turns around and I'm just gone. I was like, I can't do this. I just got so red, so embarrassed. I was just so nervous. Yeah.
Did it happen? I mean, did you ever come back? No. This is horrible. This is a horrible story.
Holy moly. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to... Sorry, Laura.
Get Alfonso back on the phone. We need to set this up so you can get your photo, get a portrait done, everything.
Oh, man. That is... Jordyn, you need that moment back, but that's okay. Next question.
All right, next question.
So we're going to change gears a little bit. If you had to make a meal for your family, what would you cook up? What would you whip up for them? What would be your choice?
I love making like tacos or like Crunchwrap Supremes from like
Very specific.
Yeah. Or like fettuccine Alfredo with like chicken and broccoli.
Good one.
Okay, look. All right, so you already have your go-to meals. I like that. Have you had to, and you obviously, are you living on your own, like when you're in Paris, like you're doing all this own cooking and laundry and just like, wow, like that? I got to tell you, like it blows my mind. And I listen, I've heard these stories countless of times, you know, because in the world of sports, this is what happens when you're young and you move away and you make it. But it still blows my mind because, you know, I was, you know, hard to believe. I was once a 19-year-old girl. And I just think, no way, like to grow up that quickly. When I first moved out on my own, it was nothing but frozen foods, like, you know, and I was older than you too when I moved out.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little difficult with like getting a gourmet meal. Like I don't put tons of effort sometimes. Like it's just sometimes I'm so exhausted. We just had a double day. So I'll hit like all the criterias of getting a well-rounded meal, like the fruits, veggies, the carbs, and you know, whatnot, the proteins. But then it will be like so random. Like sometimes my veggies will just be like 2 carrot things that I like peeled and I'm just eating them whole and like, just hitting the bases, but it's not like a gourmet, steam roasted Janine Beckie style, which she probably talks about a lot because she's some gourmet chef. I'm not quite there, but hopefully I will be there soon.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, last week Kadisha told us she can't do laundry. So you're somewhere between Janine Beckie, like Master Chef, and Kadisha can't figure out how to get her clothes dry, which is like a happy medium.
That's actually a very serious topic in France, is that I don't have a dryer. So all my clothes, it's very difficult, and like my bed sheets is the hardest thing to do because they're so like thick, and there's no humanly possible way that you can wash it and get it dry and sleep in it all in the same day.
No.
So sometimes I'll wash it and then like leave it hanging around my apartment, just like a whole store of stuff. And then I'll like leave on away trips and then let it dry in my apartment for like 3 or 4 days, and I'll get back and still be kind of damp.
Okay. Honestly, we got to get on the case. Like, I don't know if it's an outlet thing or what, but there seems to be a problem with getting your gear dry in France.
Do you have a this is a weird question that I never expected to be asking on the show. Do you have a washer dryer combo? Because that's what Kadisha was telling us she had, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, so there's tons of those in Europe, but I don't have that. She's lucky she has that. She'll be able to wash her clothes in that. I don't even have that. I just have a washer, so I pull it out and it's like dripping on my floor. If I like a piece of clothing, I'll like wash it for like a week later when I want to plan to wear it. It's like impossible.
That's resourcefulness.
Oh, see? The things people don't realize you have to deal with when you live on your own.
Exactly what I was saying.
Time is flying by. We literally have 6 minutes with you, and I still have like 1,001 questions. But why don't we just end off with this? I mean, still at 19 years of age, you're so young, you're so close to even that next generation, at least as far as age group and being able, to relate to them. And already you've accomplished so much, as we mentioned before, making history and becoming the first Canadian woman to go straight from high school to pro, what you continue to do professionally and with the national team. What would be your message to young women looking to become a soccer player?
Honestly, I just say like anything you want to do, you can. And don't feel like because you're a female that options are closed to you. And then I'd also say don't be content with where soccer for females is at right now. Like there's so much that we can grow, and there's so much more that we need to do in order to even be close to being equal with the men. That come in with a mindset to change. Even at a young age, just come in with a mindset to change and just be that change that you want to see. And I'd say like that's the biggest thing, just day in and day out, prove why we deserve it. And like, yeah, that's all I'd really have to say.
No, listen, I love that. Don't be content, where it is. It's, just because you've been given a little something, don't go, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. No, it's like push for more because, you deserve it. And I think a lot of women, yourself included, have proven, Carm coming before, right? You've proven that women definitely deserve it, which I think is, listen, we understand what's going on in this world, in a pandemic world. But, it is a little bit of a gut punch when you do see women's leagues, not just in a lot of sports, but also in particular in soccer. Like, you don't want to see it cut shorter. You don't want to see it outright canceled. There's a part of, I think a lot of us can agree, there's a part of us that just wishes they push a little harder to just maybe come up with some sort of resolution. And I know they're trying to do that in England because you don't want to lose that momentum. I don't know if that was ever a little bit of a fear of yours with the season being canceled, or if it was like, okay, I understand, but let's not lose our momentum here either. Right? Not use it as an excuse to cut things down. Very popular.
Sorry. Do you hear this?
Yeah, it's a very important call.
It's hidden behind this. I can't grab it.
So it'll eventually stop.
Don't worry.
There we go.
See, listen, I'm talking about something very important here. You got to hang up on that person. But yeah, just, not wanting to lose momentum, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. That's a huge kind of fear when you're going into a break that's so substantial and you don't really know when it's going to end. So obviously going in, it's changed a lot, like especially the programs that we're using. Finding just a time period to kind of relax and refresh and actually rejuvenate, because this is technically part of our summer. So going in from this, it's like a balance between getting your rest that you need, but also finding a way to ramp up before you hit season again. So I think that's been the biggest struggle, just with like, before they told us, oh, season's starting end of May. So then we're like, okay, so we took a little bit off, then we're ramping up, but then they say, okay, now it's starting end of June. Yeah. So then we ramped, and then now we're like, okay, well, now what do we do? So then it's kind of finding that balance between where you're still feeling rested, but you're still getting that work and you're still keeping up. And then as soon as it's official, then it's like getting that final push and that ramp leading into like a preseason type deal with your club.
Well, we wish you all the best. And I know this can't be easy at all, especially with some of those unknowns, but what's the rest of the plan now in this beautiful environment with your new friend, Roberto? I've decided to call the bird Roberto, an Italian name. He must be Italian, the way he was yapping the entire time during the show. I know. Hey, listen, we know, Carm. What's the plan for the rest of the evening and maybe just kind of the rest of the way here for you?
The rest of the evening, it's kind of been a busy day for me today, so I think just gonna wind down, have a bit of dinner with the family. We've been watching Friends, so we have the final 2 episodes tonight. So kind of just relaxing with the family. And then tomorrow during the day, pushing, getting my workouts done, and then finding time in the evening to relax again. It's just kind of a cycle until I head home or head back to France and start my 14-day quarantine there leading into the season.
All right. Well, enjoy I mean, you're very motivated, keeping the workouts going and enjoying the family time. So keep that up. And then good luck in going back to France and the rest of the way. And hopefully we can catch up with you soon. We always enjoy watching you, especially on, the national level and what you do for Canada Soccer. So thanks for joining us here. If you just joined in, because we've been live on YouTube as well, One Soccer's YouTube channel. If you joined in halfway near the end, don't worry. We're going to be posting the entire interview so you can catch it later. Always make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the One Soccer YouTube channel. That is Jordyn Huitema, who's joining us on this week's edition of One Soccer Happy Hour. We have some other great programming as well on our YouTube channel, so go check it out as we continue to keep you entertained during self-isolation. Carm, Laura, I'm Andi. We'll see you next time.
See ya.